You ever find yourself lying awake at 3 a.m., staring at your phone, waiting for a text that still hasn't come, your chest tight, your heart racing like it's trying to escape your body? It's just been a few hours of silence, but your brain has already built an entire novel out of it. They're pulling away. They're talking to someone else. I messed up. I always mess it up. That delay doesn't feel like just silence. It feels like rejection. You're not waiting for a message anymore. You're waiting for reassurance that you still matter, that you're still loved, that you're not invisible. And in that aching moment, something dark creeps in. You realize that your sense of worth is now hanging on someone else's attention. You've handed over the keys to your peace, and now you're pacing the cell of your own anxiety. But here's the twist. You built this prison yourself. It's not their fault. It's your need that locked the door. And even crazier, the key has been in your pocket the whole time. We don't talk about this enough, but we need to. We live in a world that romanticizes obsession, packages codependency as soulmates, and slaps hearts over manipulation. We've confused addiction with love. That aching, restless, I can't breathe without you feeling. That's not love. That's dependency. That's fear in a costume. Real love doesn't suffocate you. It doesn't shrink you. It doesn't turn you into a detective, decoding every emoji like it's Morse code for emotional disaster. But that's what we're taught, right? That love should feel overwhelming, consuming, dramatic. That if it doesn't hurt a little, it's not real. We grew up on stories that told us love means finding your missing half. That a healthy relationship is about becoming one. That jealousy is passion. That control is protection. That losing yourself in someone is romantic. But none of that's love. That's fantasy. That's fear marketing itself as loyalty. Now let me tell you about someone who figured all of this out over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus. He was born into slavery in ancient Rome. He was physically disabled, literally owned by another human being. If anyone had a right to be angry, bitter, hopeless, it was him. But Epictetus saw something most of us miss. He realized life is made up of two kinds of things: the things you can control and the things you can't. And the root of almost all suffering? Trying to control the stuff that's never been in your hands. You can't control what someone else feels. You can't control if they text back. You can't control whether they choose you or not. But you can control your response. You can control your inner peace, your thoughts, your sense of worth. You can learn to love without needing. That's what made a slave freer than most people today. His chains were real. Ours? They're mental, and far more common. Now here's the paradox that flips everything you've been told. The less you need someone, the more they want to be around you. And no, I'm not talking about games or manipulation. I'm talking about truth. People are drawn to confidence, to self-possession, to peace. When you're okay without someone, they feel safe with you. When you're not trying to hold them hostage emotionally, being with you feels like freedom, and freedom is magnetic. You've probably experienced this. Think about the people who really draw you in. It's not the ones constantly chasing your validation. It's the ones who are centered, who are grounded, who want you but don't need you to survive. That's what real detachment looks like. Not distance, not apathy. It's choosing someone, not needing them. It's loving without clutching. It's showing up fully, but still being okay if they walk away. So, what happens when you don't have that detachment? When you give your power away without even realizing it? You meet someone who makes your world light up. Suddenly, life feels exciting. Their laugh becomes your favorite sound. Their texts make your whole day brighter. But slowly, quietly, your entire mood starts to depend on them. When they respond quickly, you feel on top of the world. When they're distant, your whole body feels like it's shutting down. And you start adjusting, bit by bit. You stop talking about certain passions because they don't seem interested. You act more mysterious because they liked you more when you were unpredictable. You agree with things you don't even believe because conflict feels too risky. You become a shapeshifter, not because you're fake, but because deep down, you're terrified of losing them. And in that process, you vanish. You're no longer you. You're an echo of who you think they want. But here's the painful irony. They probably fell for you before you started trying so hard. That raw, real, vibrant version of you, that's what drew them in. And now, you're burying it to try and keep them. Attachment has a funny way of making us think we're holding someone close when we're actually pushing them away. Because nobody wants to be someone's emotional oxygen tank. It's heavy. It's draining. When your whole identity is tied to their presence, it stops feeling like love and starts feeling like pressure. That desperate energy, it's noticeable. You walk into a room and people can feel it. You're scanning faces for signs that you matter. Every word, every reaction. You're reading it like a map, trying to find your place in someone else's mind. But desperation, even when it's dressed up in affection, is exhausting. Not because people are cruel, but because it makes others feel like they're being consumed, like they're being asked to feed something that's never full. But peace is different. Peace draws people in. It doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It simply exists. And people want to be near it. There's a calm power in someone who's okay with themselves. Someone who chooses your presence but isn't desperate for it. That kind of energy feels like safety. It feels like freedom. And freedom, not control, is what love needs to grow. Now let's talk about the fairy tales we've been fed. The Disney versions of love that taught us it's only real if it's dramatic, all-consuming, and a little bit painful. The idea that true love means you literally can't live without someone. That two people must fuse together so tightly they stop existing separately. That if you ever need space, something must be wrong. That if you have different dreams or different paths, it's a sign of incompatibility. But that's not love. That's emotional codependency dressed in glitter. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't punish your independence. It doesn't get jealous of your growth. Real love says, you are your own person, and I love that about you. It says, I don't complete you, and you don't complete me. We're already whole. Real love enjoys, not possesses. It doesn't panic when you need solitude. It celebrates it, because it understands that space doesn't mean separation. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop seeing detachment as distance and start seeing it as emotional maturity. You stop living in reaction to someone else's behavior. You stop craving constant reassurance. You stop turning relationships into a roller coaster. Imagine this. You wake up and you don't check your phone like it's a report card. Your self-worth isn't measured in messages. You make plans without running them through a mental filter of, will they be upset? You chase dreams without calculating if they'll approve. And you feel grounded, not because your love is gone, but because it's no longer held hostage. When you reach that place, when your love is no longer tied to fear, something changes. People feel it. They gravitate toward you. They're drawn not to your perfection, but to your peace, to that calm, grounded energy that says, I care about you deeply, but I will not abandon myself to keep you. And that kind of love, that's rare, that's unforgettable, that's magnetic. Here's what might surprise you the most. The moment you truly let go of someone, not as a strategy, not to trigger a reaction, but genuinely let go. That's often when they return. Not always, of course. And if you're trying to fake detachment just to reel them back in, it won't work. People can sense when your freedom is a performance. But when it's real, when you love them without clinging, when you're okay either way, that's when connection becomes a choice. And people don't walk away from someone who gives them space to breathe while still offering love. Why does it work? Because it feels safe. When someone knows you're not going to guilt trip them, not going to collapse if they ask for space, not going to fall apart if they take a step back, they relax. They feel free. And freedom is the foundation of lasting connection. Need creates pressure. Freedom creates attraction. Let's zoom in for a second on the invisible prison you've built around yourself. Every time you refresh their page to see what they're doing. Every time you filter your thoughts to avoid rocking the boat. Every time you silence your needs so you don't seem too much. You're adding bars to a cage. Not theirs, yours. You're the warden. And the more control you try to gain, the more control you actually lose. Because control doesn't breed love. It breeds resentment. There's a moment in every attachment-heavy relationship when care turns into control, when concern becomes surveillance. When I love you becomes, I need to monitor everything you do. You don't even realize it's happening, but suddenly, their friends make you insecure. Their goals feel like a threat. Their alone time makes you panic. And you call it love, but it's not. It's fear with a romantic filter slapped on top. Real love says, I want your happiness, even if it's not with me. It doesn't try to trap. It doesn't try to own. It doesn't punish freedom. And paradoxically, that's the kind of love people stay for, not out of fear or guilt, but out of choice. Detachment sounds scary because we think it means not caring. We confuse it with being distant or emotionally cold. But detachment isn't the absence of love. It's the absence of possession. It's love without chains. It's presence without pressure. It's telling someone, you're free and I still choose to love you. And if you leave, I'll still be whole. Epictetus said it best. Happiness doesn't come from bending reality to your desires. It comes from aligning your desires with reality. Sit with that. How much of your suffering is rooted in resisting what is? How much pain is created not by reality, but by your expectation of how it should have gone? You're not hurting because they didn't text back. You're hurting because you built a whole story around what that silence means. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you give up on connection. It means you recognize the line between what you can influence and what you'll never control. You can show up. You can speak with love. You can be open. But you can't force someone to stay. And letting go of that illusion is where your peace begins. So imagine this. 6 months from now, you're not waiting on texts to feel okay. You're not scanning social media for hidden signs of disinterest. You're not shrinking yourself to avoid being left. You're just living, loving, growing at peace. You're someone who others want to be around. Not because you demand their attention, but because you don't. You're not a weight on their shoulders. You're a breath of fresh air. And right now, in this exact moment, you get to choose that path. You always have. You can either stay in the loop of need and fear and control, or you can choose peace. You can choose freedom. You can love without chains. And when you do, you become the kind of person who's not just loved, you're respected, valued, remembered. You become the kind of person people feel lucky to know. The strongest relationships aren't built on dependence. They're built on choice. Two people, whole on their own, choosing each other over and over. Not because they need to, but because they want to. You are not half a soul searching for completion. You are not broken without someone by your side. You are not less because you are alone. You are already whole, already worthy, already enough. And when you live from that truth, when it becomes your baseline, everything changes. You don't chase love. You attract it. You don't fear loss. You face it with grace. You don't beg to be chosen. You simply become someone worth choosing. That's the kind of love that lasts. That's the kind of love that sets you free. And once you've tasted that kind of freedom, trust me, no attachment in the world will ever be worth the chains again.